We'll have some tape from their sessions fighting against each other on the video screen, that is. Artistic License with hosts Victoria Lautman and Neil Tesser. It's a packed show, so stay with us.
That's right. In a matter of moments, we actually went to play BattleTech, and we have not only the guy who created the idea behind the BattleTech Center, but the guy who did all the drawing for it. Well, you've probably heard about the BattleTech Center over in the North Pier building. It's one of the craziest times you can ever spend. I got to tell you, Victoria and I went to do it, and you're going to hear the results of that in just a moment. But for about $7, for about 10 minutes, you can get into a pod, you can close the door, you can start to whip around with some controls and punch every button in sight, and then just try to kill things as often and as often as possible, and as long as your money holds out.
Or run into them, as I did.
Yeah, you did a lot of that, as I remember. But the BattleTech Center represents something else. It represents a new application of one of the hottest concepts around, virtual reality. And we're going to be talking with a man who helped pioneer that concept, Myron Kruger, who's an artist, a leader in the field of art and technology, and who actually coined the term artificial reality to describe the work that he was doing about 10 years ago. You might call him the father of this technology. We're also going to be talking with Tim Skelly, who's a computer programmer and a video game designer and the art director of Incredible Technologies here in the Chicago area. But first, we want you to hear exactly how confusing this thing can be. About a month and a half ago, Victoria and I went with several other people, including our producer Heidi Goldfein and Tim Skelly, who's in the studio with us.
Yeah, I was no fairy, was on your team.
Well, it didn't help us that much. At any rate, we went to play BattleTech, and we started the whole thing out when they split us into two different teams.
Wait, so three go on another side?
Yeah, be on the other side, in front of the monitor on the other side.
Okay, you go over there. You stay with us.
So if you don't answer any questions, that means you're not inquisitive and you want to die fast.
They've got the guy who designed the whole sucker. They don't need to ask questions.
He's not any good.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
I think it was
a liar. Okay, we're ready. We'll ask questions.
Not a pretty sight, is it? That's 1,000,000 sea bills of BattleTech you're looking at. If you turn it into scrap on the battlefield, there's not much point in you coming back either. That's where I come in. There are a few things you'll need to know before you head out for the first time. Don't be cocky. Before you head out, remember these things. Steer with the foot pedals, not the joystick. If you get stuck on an object, turn hard to the left or right to steer clear. To turn faster, slow down. Only fire if you have those numbers under your targeting display. Keep track of your opponent's position on your scanner display. Don't let them get a shot at your thinner rear armor. And lastly, stay in contact with your teammates. Strategy wins battles, not raw firepower. Good luck and good hunting.
What are the choices?
Give them the scrap.
What do you got besides vultures?
Loki.
Have anything like a rodent?
What do you got besides the vultures?
Loki's, Thor's, Mad Cat.
Thor for me, man.
Anything with phlegm in the name? Okay, what did you get? You got a Loki, Vulture, Vulture Prime 4.
We got a good mix.
3. Roadkill.
Roadkill?
Mad Cat. 1, 2, or 3? Prime has more weapons. Lassie.
Which one would you take?
Loki V2, which one you have?
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay. Okay, folks. Excuse me.
I don't understand the point of the game.
Kill everything.
Okay, this is our team. We're the green team. Yeah. Yes, Victoria. Yes, Victoria. This is what you'll want to shoot at, Victoria.
Okay.
These green guys. Go get traitor. Okay. This is what we're going to be shooting at. Now, guys, remember this. Shoot at the red and gray guys.
What is he telling them? It's not fair.
He said, you guys, what team are you?
We're green.
Okay, so
Red.
try and... You're red.
Well,
so make sure you
know
hit...
we're supposed to hit the
but,
green.
but I know that's the most important thing. That's all he was saying.
Well, how do we
now,
know
these
if
are
it's
not,
green?
These things are all useful, but for advanced
I know.
stages
So are
or
these.
something.
How do we know if they're green? If
You'll
it's
see.
green?
It'll be
Okay.
green, yeah.
Don't hit red. What else is he telling them?
I can't follow it. It's complicated. He's not telling them anything that they're going to remember, so it doesn't matter.
Whoa!
4,
We got
3, 2,
lights here. We got major lights. Okay, let's move it. We're green, right, guys? Who the hell's shooting at me? Just a little target practice here. I think that's one of them, huh? No, it's one of ours. That's one of my guys. That's a Dave. I'd know him anywhere.
Damn. How do you get... I feel like that. It's like a worst nightmare. Somebody hit me. Who did that? Okay, I'm getting this guy. He went right by me. Somebody hit me in the head. I think I'm dead now. Okay. This time I'm good. There's the radar. Now you see everything. I'm gonna get this guy.
Squirrels shoot at each other. Oh, another. Got him. All right. All right. 121. A spinning duck. Now, this is team action at its best. We're going to have a dead back here in a second. Yep. Dead person.
Somebody's dead. Whoa, who did that? You're turning into a drone. Oh! Did we win? Did we lose? I don't know. What happened?
So what could be clearer than that? You've now played BattleTech on the radio.
That's about the size of it. So it is one of the most complicated. You have to go and play like 6 times before you have an understanding of what that cockpit means. There are buttons everywhere.
And this from the woman who scored the highest
in
of the
spite
6
of how
of us.
confused I was.
There were 6 of us playing, and Victoria had the highest score.
You just told me that, Tim, though. I'm amazed. I mean, because for the second game, I was in reverse the whole time, couldn't figure out how to get out of reverse, and stripped my gears trying to get out of it, and did the rest of the show, the rest of the program, running backwards away from wherever anybody was.
Well, I can't honestly say that you won the second game. The first one you did do better than anybody else, though.
Well,
there was a lot of
patootie.
there was a lot of confusion on the Dave's team.
Yeah, we had. You get to put your names in. We should tell people that everybody on the same team gets to put in a name that you're calling yourself for the purpose of that game. And our team all chose the name Dave, which actually blew up the computer. The computer couldn't follow all these people named Dave on one team, and it took like 20 minutes to get it back on track. But that's another story. You know, the day that we killed BattleTech itself was something else. But the other voice that you've been listening to here in the studio with us is Tim Skelly from Incredible Technologies, which is the company that actually designed and put this entire project together. And on the phone with us from California is Myron Kruger, who, as I mentioned earlier, could be considered sort of the father of artificial or virtual reality. Will you admit to that paternity, Mr. Kruger?
Oh, I'll admit to being involved in the custody suit or the paternity suit if there is to be one.
Well, that's good enough.
Actually, can I ask you something that's probably really rude in that case? And because there was an article not too long ago, I wish I had it with me, in the Wall Street Journal about this other fellow, this kind of crazy guy who wears goggles and was doing the virtual reality mitt out in California. Who is that fellow, and what is his connection with the paternity suit that might
Okay,
emerge?
well, Jaron Lanier
That's it.
is the founder of VPL, and he is the entrepreneur who's been most visible. He was about 8 years old when I started working in the area, but he certainly gets credit for having been the first person to make money out of it, to turn it into product. But he did not, was not personally involved himself in the invention of the medium or the concepts in the early days, which were in starting around 68, 69.
Now, what exactly are those concepts? I think we better explain the concept, the whole idea underlying virtual or artificial reality, and really how you started to use it, not so much as a technician, but in your work as an artist.
Yeah, my ideas in terms of artificial realities and virtual realities and what's now also called cyberspace was that you would perceive a person's actions through any means, whatever, and then interpret those actions in terms of a simulated world, and allowing them to participate through vehicles or through their full body, which could be sensed by having them wear special clothing. Although in my work, I always use a video camera to see what they're doing, so that they don't have to wear any special clothing.
This would be like a video camera sort of mounted practically up by your eyes, then?
It can either be mounted over your head looking down at your hands, or it can be mounted across the room from you and interpret your image as you stand in the middle of the room.
What did you specifically have to do with BattleTech?
I'm a consumer like everybody else on BattleTech.
Okay.
BattleTech, I merely provided some, in my book that came out in '82 and was actually written 10 years earlier. I described ideas that I'm sure people doing something like BattleTech either knew about or reinvented themselves.
But one of the things that makes BattleTech unique at this point is that it allows people to interact with each other in computer space. Now, is that something that you were actually planning at the time? And if so, how did you use that in your art? Because this was something that, as I mentioned, you developed in working in artistic expression.
Well, I actually started as a scientist, but then when I saw that we were going to talk about human participation in an experience that had computer-generated graphics, had computer-generated sound, responded to the human participant as a protagonist almost in a dramatic experience, that sounded a whole lot more like an art medium than it did like a technology. And so I thought it was simply inappropriate to think of it in terms of purely bits, technical terms like bits and bytes and engineering issues. It would be far better if even the practical side were addressed with aesthetic intent, because if you live with computers all day long, an ugly computer interface would lead you to an unpleasant life.
Now, Tim Skelly from Incredible Technologies, as I mentioned, is in the Chicago suburbs, and that's a company that designs, markets video games.
Video games, different types of software. We've done legal packages, things like that, but largely video games.
And you've been able to use some of the stuff that Dr. Kruger's talking about.
Yeah, in this particular case, it was for BattleTech. We did the software and the hardware for our client, and it was a deal where I was aware of Myron's work, and as we were progressing through this, our client had some ideas about what they wanted. They knew what the configuration was going to be, but they were unaware of, I think, the past history of Myron's work. And I realized that this thing would be fun when I could see, a robot walk out onto your screen and wave at you, and you could realize, yeah, that was the guy sitting in the pod next to you. And in fact, it was. I mean, as a standalone video game, if it was just you against, the computer, it'd be not really
It becomes much more mechanistic.
Oh, yeah. But when you actually are playing with a bunch of other people, even when we were testing it, and it was at its lowest frame rate, which is to say the picture was at its jerkiest, it was very slow. The image would only get updated like maybe twice a second. And even at that point, just because you were playing and interacting with other people, it was a tremendous amount of fun. It was really a new experience.
I think that's the thing we have to emphasize. If some people are still unclear about virtual reality and, what it is and how it applies to this game, the difference is that it's no longer just you reacting to a screen. You're actually playing against people who you can't see, who are in other places, and the whole game is something that can change depending on the decisions being made. And that is, I think, what the basis of virtual reality is. And I think we might want to get into that a little bit more, in fact, because that's what's so fascinating to people. And maybe, Mr. Kruger, you can tell us a little bit more about that. Can you describe, for instance, like a virtual reality setup, like one of the mitts or one of the outfits that somebody might wear, let's say 20 years from now, because obviously this is going to be the wave of the future, the next wave of computer technology?
Well, my own prediction in the area would be that what are currently goggles in that technology that almost look like scuba gear would be shrunken in size to the point where they look like regular glasses, and they're no more, or even contact lenses, and that the data glove and data suit won't be necessary because the computer will be able to perceive you through a number of video cameras to completely understand what your body's doing, at least for the point of things like entertainment. You don't need to have surgical precision when you're doing entertainment. So then you will be able to interact physically in an environment that is displayed in front of you only through these glasses. But you'll also be able to see the other people who you're interacting with, to see their faces, to make eye contact, but nevertheless be in the middle of a graphic environment that has no real existence.
So is this something that's kind of like, if people can relate to this at all, on the Star Trek, the New Generation, the holodeck, where you just create an environment for yourself that doesn't really exist, but that somehow this computer has been programmed at some point with so many different variables, and you basically determine how those variables are going to react to one after the other?
Yes, you can create a reality yourself, or you can use one that has been created by an artist. The same way when you go to a movie, you see a reality that a horde of craftsmen of incredibly skilled, high level of skill, have put together for you. If I had to create reality for myself, I'd probably have trouble getting up in the morning, and I think most people have the same feeling. So most of us will be consumers for realities, but we will be able to have an effect on it. And like kids playing sandlot baseball, we'll be able to make up the rules to fit the situation and the people we have available.
Well, those are at least some of the things we can look forward to. For now, though, you can go try out at least the current state of artificial or virtual reality at the BattleTech Center, which is in the North Pier Terminal. We want to thank Dr. Myron Kruger, who is the man who really coined the term artificial reality for the work that he was doing, and who has been a pioneer in this film, in this field, for being with us from California. Tim Skelly, computer programmer and art director for Incredible Technologies. And we didn't mention, but we should now, that the BattleTech Center was really put together. The idea was conceived of, and then they went out and hired the folks at Incredible Technologies by the Chicago-based company called FASA, and they're the ones who actually own and operate the BattleTech concept at North Pier. And go try it out. You'll be surprised at what you find. Thanks all of you for being with us today on Artistic License.